today we're going to build off the previous video, which was a contract compliance high-level overview, and we're going to look at supplier level contract compliance. So supplier level contract compliance, using the contract terms document, will allow you to actually track all spend for a particular supplier against that contract. And through setting up contract compliance in the contract terms document will really provide the join between your contract management module and what you buy within your procure to pay module. So contract compliance should be set up whenever I have a contract in place with a supplier to provide any goods and services. As mentioned in the previous contract compliance overview video, there is 4 different types of contract compliance which can be set up, or 4 different contract types. Today we're going to focus on the supplier level. This is the highest level of contract compliance, and the other 3 types, commodity, catalog and item level, will provide a more granular level of contract compliance, which I'll cover in some future videos. I'm now going to jump into Ariba and show you how through the contract terms document you can set up supplier level contract compliance. So once I've set up my contract workspace within Ariba, I will have a normal contract workspace reference with a CW prefix. Once the full contract drafting process is complete, all the steps have been taken, the contract's been executed and published. The next step is to access the contract terms document, which sits in the Documents tab on the contract workspace. This document, as mentioned, will provide the join or the glue between your contract management module and your procure to pay module, and also will define how you operationalize how people buy from that contract. So I'll just go ahead and open up that contract terms document. This will bring in the key information from the contract workspace that was previously defined, such as your contract amount and your effective and expiration dates. So next we'll open up the actual contract terms document, which works in a wizard structure to step through the attributes to define, to set up that contract compliance. Today, as mentioned, we'll focus on the supplier level contract type, and that's how we will set up the contract terms for compliance. I'm also just leaving the release required yes, which means that a purchase order is required to buy against this contract. So now those 2 attributes have been set up, supplier level contract type and also release required yes. That's really all the information that's needed to set up that high level contract compliance. So all spend for that supplier, whether it's a catalog spend or non-catalog spend, will accumulate against the contract. As we can see when we jump into the pricing terms tab, they've now been set up for that contract as the information's been entered in the definitions part of the wizard. I'm now going to go ahead and access the summary and save those terms. So those terms have now been saved as a draft, as you can see from the status. Also worth mentioning that normally in the contract management lifecycle, the definition of contract terms would be a task in the tasks list at the end of the actual process. So once the contract's been published, executed, this task to operationalize the contract would take place as a final task. I'll now go ahead and publish those contract terms and submit. I'll also go ahead and just check the approval flow to publish the contract terms, and for the sake of the demo I'll remove these approvers. So now the contract terms or contract compliance piece has been set up through the contract terms document. The contract has been published, so we can now go look into P2P and create some requisitions which will accumulate against that contract at a supplier level. I've now created a requisition, added a line item, in this case a catalog line. As I've chosen the same supplier as the contract terms document has been set up for Stratus Labs, as we can see, a contract has been pulled in, and this is the contract reference number. I'll just go ahead and submit that requisition. I'll just remove the approvers. So now the requisition has been approved, the status has changed to orders. If we go into the orders tab on the requisition, we can now see the order ID is C1020, which is the contract number, and R1 means the first release against that contract. So I've now jumped back into contract management and accessed the contract here, which sits against the contract workspace. If I access the orders tab here, as we can see, because we've now created the link through contract compliance, the purchase order that we just previously created is now accumulating against this contract. And any future purchase orders created, whether they are catalog or non-catalog, will expand this list and accumulate against the contract and update the contract accumulators against the contract amount. And that wraps up a quick overview of high-level supplier level contract compliance. In the future videos, I'll step through the more granular contract compliance, which can be set up in terms of commodity catalog and item level. Okay, thank you for listening.